A lot of people want to be glasses free, not have the constraint of wearing something.
Handsome like
Yeah. For kids, when we're talking about myopia, the more time spent outdoors, the better. Actually, your risk of myopia goes up by 6 times. That means that if you're
My future kids, sorry. Welcome to MaNaMaNa Talk Show. We are your hosts, Zul and
I'm Eva.
in our segment, Where's the Doctor?
And today's topic is all going to be about eyes.
I got the eye of the tiger. I don't know what it is.
Nice one.
Okay,
It's okay. So over here, we can have our Dr. Nathan Xiao, who's actually our Deputy Medical Director from MaNaDoc, who's open to be a GP doctor with eye interest, and he'll also be a locum from ophthalmology at NUH. Thank you for having us here.
Eyes are definitely an asset for one to view the horizon.
Yeah, without sights, everything seems dull and meaningless. Today's topic is gonna be touched about eye conditions. Okay, so
They identified a few eye conditions. The first one we're talking about is myopia, which is short-sightedness for the layman, basically. Dr. Nathan, so
Yeah.
would you like to describe more on myopia?
Yeah, so the thing is, myopia is actually one of Singapore's top eye problems, and in the world, actually, we face a lot of myopia as well. About 70% of the people in the world currently are affected by a certain degree of myopia. Some things interesting about myopia I just kind of want to let everyone know about is that, first and foremost, it can be inherited. So if you have myopia and your parents have myopia, chances are you might have gotten it from them. Other causes of myopia could include things like environmental causes. You could have been exposed to very near things at the start when you were younger. Sometimes you can have things like trauma along the way, something that hits your eye and causes some form of mechanical manipulation in the eye, which leads you to having myopia. So as explained by Zul, myopia is actually short-sightedness. The opposite of this would be long-sightedness. So when we talk about short-sightedness, there are a few things we need to pay attention to. Like there's a degree that is attached to short-sightedness. That means that tells you how short-sighted you are. If
So
you're
it's like the severity of your
yeah, correct. It's like a
short-sightedness.
severity scale,
Mm.
which kind of ends up being equivalent to the thickness of the glasses that you kind of need to wear for the correction of this myopia. So I think other than the facts about it's inherited and the fact that a lot of people get it, I think the main questions we all want to know is like how to treat it, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
actually, there are ways to cope with myopia, but we can't really reverse the process of myopia. So myopia is kind of like an irreversible process. The mechanical change that takes place in the eye for myopia is the elongation of the eyeball. So if I can pull up a drawing here, which I don't really have at this point of time, essentially for people with normal eyes, they will have very nice spherical shaped eyeballs. But if you are myopic, your eyeball becomes stretched, become like an oval shape. And therefore the focus
So like a basketball to a rugby ball kind of
that's
thing.
right. So
Yeah.
then
Get your
the
ruler.
focus, so the
Mention.
focus of the vision will be much nearer inside the eyeball. It becomes short-sighted. So the ways we cope with myopia, number one, like as you know, Eva is wearing right now, is glasses. So we wear glasses. We're able to correct myopia quite well at this point of time, and you'll be able to see very clearly. So other ways include things like LASIK, which is more invasive, whereby we laser a part of the front of the eye, correct for myopia. The other ways that is not so invasive would be things like contact lens. So people can wear contact lens as well. So I think coping with myopia is quite a hot topic for youngsters because a lot of people want to be glasses free. They want to not have the constraint of wearing something.
Handsome like
Yeah. And sometimes if you don't wear glasses, then you look aesthetically more appealing. Yeah. So just to let everybody know, like fun fact, right? If just wanted to ask you guys, do you all know if your parents have myopia, what is the chance of you getting myopia?
Not sure. Because my own parents don't wear glasses, but all my siblings wear glasses.
Oh, so it's probably other factors really involved. But okay, so based on research studies, right, if you have myopia, the chance of it being passed down, right, is quite high. Basically close to about 50%. But the thing is that if you were to have more than one parent having myopia, actually your risk of myopia goes up by 6 times. That means that if
To
you
my
have
future kids, I'm sorry.
so if you have one parent with myopia, then it's a certain risk attached to it. If you have two parents with myopia, then your risk goes up by 6 times. So it's kind of like a good predictor for whether your kids will have myopia or not.
So must set aside money for glasses next
For
time. already.
glasses lah. But if you practice very, very good eye hygiene when you are younger, right? You go outdoors, you don't stay at home. Because another risk factor for having myopia is actually staying at home. Believe it or not, going outdoors decreases your risk of myopia. So if you go outdoors more often, you spend less time on your computer, you don't look at things so closely, then your risk of myopia technically drops a bit, you know.
So basically, must look far, far away every 30 to 45 minutes. Correct me? If I'm wrong.
Actually, for kids, right? For kids, when we're talking about myopia, the more time spent outdoors, the better. Yeah. So
no more
nowadays, all
iPads,
these-
Our Gen
kids.
Z
No
not
more
like that,
iPads,
yeah.
no more iPads, no more
Nowadays, our
handphone.
generation sit
Play at the
home,
playground. Tell mommy,
Yeah.
daddy bring outdoor.
Nowadays they come out of home already. Oh, iPad already.
we face a lot of these type of challenges nowadays, which is quite hard when we deal with myopia.
But it's good for you. Earn more money.
That's not the point. The glasses shops earn more money. The eye doctors don't really earn a lot of money. So the way we deal with myopia in the hospitals, when we see kids with myopia, the cut-off is quite straightforward. If you have someone with more than 100 or more degrees of progression every year, we call this pathological myopia, which is something that we need to treat. And there are a couple of options. Most of the time, we will go with atropine. So we will give some form of eye drops for it. Okay. We don't have to go into the technical details here, but when we give this type of eye drops, we usually help to slow down the progression of myopia. And there can be other things like auto K lenses that doesn't have to be given by doctors, and these are actually the ones that cost a lot of money. They are given by optometrists outside. Research has actually shown that if you combine both methods together, eye drops and the auto K contact lenses, the progression of myopia slows down significantly. But usually for people in the hospitals, we don't use expensive options because not everybody can afford it. Yeah. So we will just use atropine eye drops to slow down the progression.
So Dr. Nathan, myopia and astigmatism, does it comes together hand in hand, or it only comes later part to join in?
Okay,
The
so
myopia
this
gang,
is not
yeah.
a very easy question to answer as well. What I mean by this is that whenever you go to the glasses shop, right, they always measure a few things for you. They will write some numbers on the paper and then they will tell you, oh, this is your degree. And then you just pay money and go and make it. But not many people understand what the numbers mean. So if you can pull up a sample of the glasses prescription here, what happens is that you have a couple of numbers. One essentially shows you your degree of myopia, whether you're long-sighted, short-sighted, and what's the degree of extent. Second thing is they show you your degree of astigmatism. So astigmatism defined generally as by how well shaped your cornea is. If your cornea is very irregularly shaped, it gives rise to higher astigmatism. Of course, there are a lot of other ways to define astigmatism as well, but this is the general mainstay. If you get things like high myopia, most likely to some degree, your eyeball manipulation will lead to some form of irregular cornea at the front, which also gives you some form of astigmatism. But that doesn't mean that a guy with perfect eyesight will not have astigmatism. You can have both individually. I think it's a complex question to answer because sometimes you can get myopia without astigmatism, you can get astigmatism without myopia. Sometimes you can get both, and actually the causes of both, some overlap, some don't. Example, if you are very young, you tend to rub your eye a lot when you were younger, the fibers in the cornea start becoming very loose. So when I explain to patients, it's like a rubber band used to be very stretchy. Every day you go and stretch it, sooner or later it becomes very loose. So the same thing, the cornea, what happens is if you keep rubbing it, it will become very loose, the cornea will be very irregularly shaped, which will lead to high astigmatism. So it's a tip for young adults who are having kids soon. Basically, you don't want them to rub their eyes as much as possible. So if they keep rubbing their eyes when they're younger, when they grow older, astigmatism will keep creeping up. Yeah. Amblyopia is a whole different topic. It is what we call a layman term as lazy eye. Okay. Why is it lazy? It's because it's understimulated. So amblyopia is usually a word we use to describe people who have very understimulated vision when they were younger. broadly speaking, there are three types of amblyopia. What I mean by this is that you can subdivide them to strabismic, refractive, as well as deprivation. So when you break this down into these three broad topics, it sounds very complicated, right? But actually it's very simple. So for strabismic, basically when you have some form of muscle problem in the eye and things like that, your eyes don't look at things together. Like one drifts apart and things like this. So the eye that's drifting apart gets very understimulated. And only when you're young, the visual stimulation is very important to develop all these nerves in the eye so that you can then see clearer. Is that when you grow a bit older and things have stabilized anymore, you don't really need so much of the stimulation to develop the connection. So people who have amblyopia at the start, when they're young, usually carry it over to when they're a bit older. Okay, now go back to the three types again. Okay, so first type, strabismic, one eye deviates out, the other eye gets stimulated a lot more than the eye that deviates out. So the eye that deviates out becomes lazy. So it doesn't get stimulation, the nerves don't link together, the vision doesn't develop properly. Okay. Second, we talk about refractive. So if you have one eye degree being very high compared to the other eye, and parents don't know because sometimes it's not easy to tell, right? Based on your kids, they're growing up. You don't even know whether they're seeing things properly. But if you go to a glasses shop, they actually check your degree. One eye is very high degree, the other one is very little. You have to find a way to balance this. Otherwise, the kid is not going to use one eye, and the eye will be very understimulated, leading to lazy eye.
That also happened to me because I have one lazy eye also.
Because the degrees were very
Because
high.
they were very different, yeah.
Yeah. So if this is detected early, actually you can fix it by
So
stimulating.
So it's too late for me already, is it?
Too late already. The last type we talk about is deprivational, which is kind of like what it means. So if when you're a kid, you have babies that develop things like cataracts in the eye when they're babies, or if there's any other visual obstruction to the eye, what happens is that it really underdevelops the nerves there, and therefore you get lazy eye in the eye as well. So with these three things in mind, right, actually there are a lot of ways to treat amblyopia, but two main ways that have been kind of tried and tested. Okay, so we have first and foremost, the most non-invasive is eye patching, like you mentioned earlier. What happens is that we usually patch the good eye. Why you patch the good eye is so that you then give the kid time to develop the not so good eye.
So you kind of force the other eye to
you
work.
force the other eye to be stimulated more than the good eye. And patching is not done like in 1 day or 2 days kind of thing. It's over months. And you will see the improvement over months, and both eyes will slowly balance out. But if you have things like strabismic, deprivational kind of amblyopia, usually we treat the root cause. What I mean by this is that if your eye keeps deviating and everything, we need to give you either lenses or something else to correct such that your eyes don't deviate all the time. So it gets equal stimulation. If you have cataract, you have to take it out using surgical means so that it becomes stimulated again. Stimulation only, I tell people mainly, right, as a ballpark figure, pre-pubertal. That means that if you're anywhere from 0 all the way to 12 to 14 years old, that your eye still is amenable to some form of stimulation and recovery. But of course, the earlier it is done, the better. The earlier detection, the earlier the intervention, the better the outcome. Usually if it's done very late, like towards the tail end of puberty, there may or may not be some improvement, but hardly. Yeah. So this is more or less about amblyopia. Detect early, treat early.
Just now you mentioned about the cataract. So
Yeah.
how young can a person get cataract? Is it confirmed everyone should get cataract or it's not necessary?
No lah. So cataract is something very, very rare we see in infants, but it is possible. Like I have seen a patient before in like that has congenital cataracts. What I mean by this is that you're born and you have cataracts. Usually it's detected, it's very simple, it's a torchlight test. You just shine a torchlight at the baby's eyes, you can see something white in the area. Yeah, then you know that they have more or less like either cataract, it can even be things like growth, sometimes it can be cancer related in the eye, it can be congenital, some people get it at birth. That's why you realise when you go through social media, there's some cases whereby babies are born blind, many reasons. Yeah.
I see.
But otherwise it's very rare. Usually cataracts in babies are very rare. Actually, right, babies usually have black and white vision for a short period of time before they actually get coloured vision. It's very hard to elicit colour blindness from a baby because the baby can't even tell you what's the colour. They can't even tell you what they're looking at. But usually at the age of about 4 or 5 years old, when they start being able to articulate and properly identify colors, associate colors. Actually, 4 5 years old might be a bit late really. Depending on what some parents are doing nowadays, right? Actually, people can start talking words. In fact, like 1 years old plus to 2 years old already.
Yeah.
And if they're able to say that, and they can even tell you the color and can reliably associate colors for you, you can detect that very early on. And color blindness and blindness are obviously very different. Blindness is really can't see anything. Like, is this blur or is black or is white? Like, you can't see anything. But color blindness only allows you to see things very clearly. It's just that you can't differentiate certain colors. Many different type of color blindnesses, many different degrees of color blindness. But the most important thing is that if you know someone has color blindness, it's better to pick it up early, because color blindness sometimes can affect life choices, like crossing the road. So if you have red-green color blindness and it's really red or green, you can't tell. Yeah, then it's a big problem. Yeah. But this is very rare.
So are the colours for colour blindness, is it really fixed, or like say, can you only see black and white, or just
No, so
certain colours?
So I don't have color blindness, so I can't tell you from first-hand experience, right? But the thing is that mainly there are two types of color blindness here. What have you guys heard of? What type of color
I
blindness
heard
have?
something like they cannot differentiate between it's black, no, it's a blue, it's black. Then become argumentative about it. Black and blue.
So
That's the
colours.
simple basic color that I heard of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So
Is there
there's-
such thing?
There's blue. If I'm okay, so color blindness, there's really a wide range.
Okay.
The top few, right? There is red green, then there's also blue green. There's things like orange yellow. It goes down to even very very specific, oddly specific colors. But all these are genetic and genetic in nature. Most of the time, if you go down to the molecular level, you can see that actually these people are missing some form of protein in the eye that allows them to see the color. So honestly, for these type of cases, some can affect life choices, some don't. But it's better to get it checked out early, as early as possible. Yeah, it might affect the kids' learning also.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so when we talk about color blindness test, actually there's one very very generic one. This thing called the Ishihara charts. So basically it's a collection, it's just a book with like total about we test 15 different slides in this book. But actually this book has way more than 15 slides. It's just that in this book there's a lot of numbers that are made up of circles. You know, I don't know if you have seen it before, but every page has a different number and different
So the
colours
circles
of
will
the
form
circles.
the number out, right?
Yes. And then the
Surrounded by
number,
different colours.
correct. So there'll be a lot of circles, and the circles that form the number and the circles that form the entire circle will all be different colours. So people start looking at that and seeing whether they are deficient in any of these cards, and if they are, then we need to of course confirm, double check a few times to make sure that they're giving us proper answers. Then we can determine some guy to be colorblind. But actually, you don't have to objectively go for a colorblind test. In fact, when you look at things day to day, actually a lot of people discover color blindness through everyday activities. What I mean by this is they go look at traffic light, their friends go out, when you go to the arcade, your friends say, hey, hit the red thing, and then you're like, no, this is not red, or this doesn't look like red. Or they say, hey, this is the purple thing, and you're like, no, this is not really purple, this looks more like blue. Yeah, that's where people start actually finding out more.
So like
about-
last time got this dress saga, the
yes,
the
correct.
orange what
No, but that one is the
Blue or white,
golden,
something.
Yeah,
Blue or
golden,
blue.
white.
golden or something. This
Golden
one is a
white.
bit hard to explain. Even I don't know how to explain at this point of time.
So actually, it's supposed to be the blue or the gold.
Actually, I still know.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I have a different answer every
the
day.
mystery continues.
So doctor also have to consult another doctor to determine that. You see?
Yeah, probably. So the thing is that you don't have to objectively go and test for color blindness. Invariably discovers it through everyday lives. And if you want to test it for objective reasons, honestly, there's no practical use. Unless it's for safety reasons and you have to declare, then the company who has hired you will probably have run some sort of test for you already to determine whether you're colorblind so that you can safely carry out your task. So first and foremost, I think everybody needs to remember the 20-20-20 rule. which is whenever you look at digital products, books, or anything like that, take 20 minutes, break. Every time you do this, for 20 seconds of your time, look at something about 20 feet far. So this is a very good way to rest your eyes, to reset your blink rate, makes you less prone to dry eyes. That's the first tip. The second tip is whenever you look at screens, don't look at too small words. Sometimes you tend to strain your eyes more than usual, and this inadvertently brings the object closer and closer to you. So if you look at things very close to you, you strain your eyes a lot as well. There's no win-win solution, just make the thing bigger. Yeah. Third, you can always adopt a very good habit of cleaning your eyes. What I mean about this is that whenever you wake up in the morning, you can take a warm towel, cloth, just to wipe your eyelids. Sometimes it's very good practice, especially for people who have oily eyes. It's just like if you have oily face in the morning, you will wash your face. So for your eyelids, some people are prone to producing more oil than usual. Getting rid of this excess oil actually helps with both the comfort throughout the day, as well as giving you lesser chance of getting eye infections or dry eyes. Yeah, so I think these three are the tips that you can take away from here. I think the fourth bonus tip we would like to give you is that if you are aging and you feel, or rather you've been assessed that your risk of cataract is higher, you're starting to develop cataract, I usually tell people to avoid looking at direct UV light. That means don't look at the sun, don't spend too much time in the seas looking at the water that reflects UV rays directly to you, because this increases the chance of you getting cataract. And of course, control all other pre-existing medical conditions you have. If uncontrolled diabetes leads to faster development of cataract as well.
Thank you, Dr. Nathan. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Stay tuned for our next segment next time round. Thank you.